Joe Tuttle, welcome to An Actor Despairs. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good, Ryan. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man, I'm a huge fan. I actually discovered you first in Boardwalk Empire because, that was such like a co-star, guest star thing for New York actors for so
Yeah,
long. And then when you got Mindhunter, I was like so excited. And then how they made you series regular and the character was
yeah.
so cool because all those characters are so different. And man, you're doing the New York grind that I'm trying to do. So I'm so excited to have you on, and I just have so many questions for you. But if it's cool,
Great.
let's start at the beginning. Where'd you grow up, brother?
Uh, Kind of all over the place. Born in Boston, then within like 2 months, my parents moved us to Seattle, Washington. Spent 8 years there before we moved back to Massachusetts, a suburb of Boston called Worcester. Lived there for a couple of years. Then we ended up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is pretty much where I tell people I'm from because that's where I went to middle school and high school. And then Chicago for school, drama school, before I moved to New
What
York.
what school did you go to in Chicago?
Northwestern University.
Oh, so you studied acting there.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Did you do the Chicago scene at all?
Not really. My whole plan was to go to Northwestern and be a Chicago actor. Like I always loved
The
those guys.
Goodman,
Steppenwolf,
oh
like the whole
yeah,
Steppenwolf company, Gary Sinise, John Malkovich. Like I was like, these are my guys. This is what I want to do. Thought I was going to be a Chicago actor, but instead, through a very sort of circuitous route, I ended up, you know, graduating with like a showcase because Northwestern doesn't take everybody to New York to showcase. So
oh,
I was,
they only take a
and
select few.
they only take a few. So I happened to be lucky to get the showcase, and I was like, okay, I'll try New York, and came out to New York, and that's sort of how it.
And you got rep.
I didn't get rep. I thought I was going to get rep, but they had me
Wow.
having these meetings, and you kind of thought like, oh, this is the way it's going to go, and everyone was like, oh, this is great. You get like this after you do this. It was called back then it was called the New Leagues. I think it's different now, but it was the
Yeah.
New Showcase, and you this huge audience of agents and managers, and afterwards you get like a pamphlet or like a manila envelope full of.
Dude, Chris Bauer was just on my show, and so was Glenn Fleshler, and they told this exact same story, and they
Oh
didn't get rep either.
yeah, and yeah, I mean a lot of people don't. I mean
Yeah,
that's the game, right?
yeah,
Like most people don't, I think.
yeah, yeah.
But I had all these meetings set up, and I had this like big thick set of papers, and they set up all these meetings. I stayed for like a couple weeks after the showcase in New York, kind of see what would happen, and I had a bunch of meetings. People were like, oh, that's great, like as soon as you move to New York, because I was still in Chicago, as soon as you move to New York, call me and we'll get stuff set up. I was like, great. So I went
Yeah.
back to Chicago, finished out the rest of the semester because Northwestern kind of ends late. We ended in like June.
Were you
So
happy
still in
with
the
your
middle.
training there?
Yeah,
You were.
yeah.
That's
And then I came to New York in like beginning of July, and I made all these phone calls, these agents who said, oh, come to New York. And they were like, oh, yeah, Joe Tuttle, who? I was like,
Oh God, I've
oh,
been there.
okay.
This is how that
Well,
works.
I've got an apartment. All right, well, I'm here. Let's do it. And that was like 17 years ago, man.
Wow.
It's a long time ago.
What were you doing? Kind of what I did, and a lot of actors did, the one-on-one actors connection, or were you doing other
Yeah,
things?
I've done all that sort of stuff. I mean, to sort of various degrees of success.
Yeah.
I think right when I moved here, I'm not totally sure, but I think right when I moved here, like Actors Connection was the only sort of game in town. So you would go
Oh,
there and like pay and meet people, do a monologue, do some scenes or whatever.
yeah.
And I did that a little bit, and I was like, this doesn't. Oh
It's
no.
very. It makes you feel awful.
it can. I
Yeah.
think I got really into sort of the marketing aspects of things and like, you know, treating it like a business. And so that became one of my arsenal of things that I was doing, but I wasn't doing it a lot. And I think you have to be scientific about who you decide to sort of meet
Yeah.
and sort of target, I think.
Totally. It's
Um,
kind of like dating in some ways. It's got to be, perfect on both ends. And as actors, people can be so desperate. They're just like anyone, you know?
well, that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
We're so people are just so desperate to work. They're desperate for everything, and
Yeah.
it's not a great position to be in, you know.
No, it
So
isn't. Yeah.
a bunch of those. I did one. I've done. Oh, there's a bunch of them. They're good. I have no. They serve their purpose, which is to get you
Totally.
in the room to meet people. Like I have no problem with it. It's just, you know, when you're first starting out, you don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're trying to meet these people, and you want to be sort of intelligent about what kind of material you're presenting, who you're meeting. Um, so
That's beautiful, man. And what were you doing to kind of stay grinding on like the audition front while you didn't have rep? Were you doing actors access? Were you, playbill, auditions, like
yeah, back in the day, man, it was backstage and like,
backstage?
and I remember a bunch of my friends were still getting like the paper edition of Backstage and like combing through it and highlighting and circling things. Like, I'm gonna
Wow.
mail this like an audition. I was like, I have a computer, I have an internet connection. Let me just like get the backstage.com or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would go through Backstage and mail out my picture and resume and like try to get a regional job. And this is before I was in Actors Equity, so I couldn't go to like an open equity
Yeah.
call.
Because you sit there for
I'm just
12
like,
hours and
well,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you're not equity, I can't remember what the rules are because it's been a while. But um, I think I think I would just like send out pictures and resumes and stuff like that.
Nice, man. And did you get
And
any bites
sort of,
or
yeah, I got did some regional theater gigs that way. I got little short films here and there and stuff like
yeah.
that, and you just sort of build your body of work that way. And at first you're just like, I'll do anything, man. I
Yeah.
was really lucky within the first couple months of moving to New York City. I booked a play like right away, like
Nice. What was it?
just by mailing things out backstage. It was a showcase production of Curse the Starving Class. And I
Wow.
was like, are you kidding? So like I was like, okay, so this is what it'll be like. Okay, maybe not a lot of money, but I'm doing like Sam Shepard
Yeah.
off Broadway, playing a part I've like been dreaming to play within a
Yeah.
couple months of being in New York. So I was like, this is great.
That's amazing.
At that time I was like, I don't even care. I just want to do the work, you know.
And, and how did that go? Did that like I imagine some people came?
Yeah, you it's news, you mail all these agents and casting directors, people who'd just seen me a couple months ago in the showcase or the new leagues or whatever they called it back then. And
Yeah.
I try to get people to show up. I think some people came. I mean, I didn't get rep out of it. It was really a long time before I got representation on the legit side. I got a commercial agent right away,
Yeah.
but to get like a legit agent or a legit manager took a while.
Yeah, it took me 5 years, and I'm only now just
Yeah,
starting. It's
totally, man.
I wouldn't wish acting on anyone, but when you love it,
Right.
man, it's just that thing. And then talk to me about like when you started doing the co-star guest star circuit. Was that when you finally got a legit rep?
Yeah. Was it? No. The very first thing I got was like I got a couple co-stars on like the soap operas. There were like 4 or 5 soaps that shot in New York. back then. It was like All My Children, One Life to Live, Guiding Light,
Right. Right.
something else. There were 3, 4, 5, and they need lots of co-stars and day players. You come on, you do your 5 lines, and you have a nice lunch, and you go home.
Yeah.
And I was mailing those casting people a bunch, and they came to see me in a showcase production of something, and then they just called me in directly. And so my first sort of TV appearance that was not a commercial was Guiding Light.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in Guiding Light for like a split second. I played a young dad or something in a birthing class, as I recall. Then all my children, not all my children. What was the other one? I can't remember. Another soap called me, and I ended up being like a sonogram ultrasound tech on
Wow.
for a while for a couple. I don't know if it's fair to call it recurring, but like I did 3 or 4
Yeah.
episodes there. And then with those credits, I was like, well, maybe I should try to get some more TV stuff. So that's when I started doing more of the actors connection, one-on-one type of things because I
Showing the
had
credits on your resume. Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
TV I kind of felt like those TV casting directors weren't going to be like um weren't going to give me an audition until they could see that I'd been on TV and kind of like knew what to do.
Yeah.
They might see
Totally.
you do a great monologue in the room or great work in the room, but like it's another thing when they bring you into a real audition, so to speak,
Yeah.
for a real part, and they're showing your tape to their superiors, their producer or showrunner. Like, can you really do it?
Yeah.
So I've kind of felt like once I'd shown them that I could, maybe on a smaller scale on a daytime soap opera, maybe I'd get more traction, and that's what happened. I think it took a while, but I got what
Was
I
it Boardwalk?
uh the boardwalk was after I had rap.
Okay.
I can't remember. It was like maybe Damages or something. I did like a
Mm.
basic had
Glenn
one line
Close
on
is in.
Damages. Yeah. It was opposite Rose Byrne. Had like one line, like a talk therapy session. I
Yeah.
think ultimately they ended up cutting the line. I mean, I basically didn't say anything.
Did you
And
have to
then,
do other things for survival during this
oh
time?
yeah, of
What?
course, man. I've done a million different crazy things.
What?
When I
What?
first, I mean, I've waited tables and done that whole thing.
Yeah.
But when I first came to New York, I helped build. You know what Pilates is, right?
Yeah. Totally.
They
Yeah.
have like these. I think it's called a Pilates reformer. It's like a big piece of wooden equipment. I was helping this dude build something called gyrotonics, which is similar to Pilates. Gyrotonics equipment in an old railroad barge off the Chelsea piers. So that was like my first trying to make money, like doing some carpentry stuff for this guy.
Yeah. Totally.
And then I was like, this isn't really for me. Being on a railroad barge in like February kind of sucks.
Yeah. Totally.
Off the Hudson River. So I ended up doing all these different things. I was like a FAO Schwartz, FAO
Yeah.
Schwartz is a toy store. I think it's out of business now, but there used to be a job where you just like dress as a toy soldier and stand out front.
Yeah. I know. I worked at the Apple Store back in the day.
I used to be a toy soldier at FAO Schwartz for a while.
Was that a good job, or was that?
I mean, you know what? You kind of feel like a schmuck, but like
Yeah.
it's easy, and they were very nice, and it was all actors who worked there. There were like toy demonstrators and singers who would like, I don't know. There was like the little nursemaid thing where you could be like an actor who's a nurse, and you're like showing the little kids how to nurse the baby. And so there's all kind. They employed a lot of actors. It was actually pretty cool. So they were flexible with auditions and stuff. That was great.
Oh, so
But then
cool.
that didn't work out too long. And then I was like waiting tables and catering. What else? I like temped. I mean, you name it, I did it.
You
Man.
did. Wow. Yeah, I get it, man. That's
I mean, I
amazing.
had like probably 50 different jobs in 5 years, and then you'd go away because half the time you'd go away, do a play or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you got to quit your job and you come back. You're like, I'm going to do a play. You go do a play, come back in a couple months, and you're like, okay, I don't have my job anymore, so I need a new job. So
Yeah, I know, man. So brutal. Did you ever think about doing the LA thing as you started to get
oh
credits?
yeah,
Or yeah,
definitely thought about LA, especially in the first couple years. I was like, maybe it'll be easier in LA.
yeah.
Because I had a bunch of friends graduate from Northwestern and move right to LA.
Wow.
And they weren't doing anything. They'd been there for 2-3 years and not doing anything. And I was like, that's weird. I mean, at least I don't have some big career, but like I've done a couple plays, I booked a commercial, I'm in Actors Equity now. Like I'm
Yeah.
doing some work. So I went out there to sort of stay with a friend for a couple of weeks. I actually set up a couple of meetings ahead of time with agents and producers and some people that I knew, just sort of cobbled some meetings together. And I
Amazing.
went out there, rented a car, and I was like, man, I got out of LAX, got my rental car, and I was like, man, the weather's gorgeous.
Yeah,
The ocean's here. This is beautiful.
I
And then I
know.
got in my rental car and got on the highway, and I immediately just wanted to shoot myself in the face.
Because of the
Like,
traffic or
traffic. I mean,
yeah,
I know
yeah.
it's the old sort of like New York going to LA complaints, but like everything about LA is fantastic except for that one thing. But that
Totally.
one thing is pretty awful, and it's not getting better. Last time I was there, it's even worse, man.
And it takes you 3 hours to get somewhere in New York that would take you 15 minutes. You know
Oh
what it,
yeah,
yeah.
like I take the subway or I ride my bike or like what I take an Uber, man. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
in LA, and it seemed like I was there at one point, and we were coming home from a party like Wednesday at 1 a.m. or something over the I think it's the 101 that goes
Yeah.
into the valley.
Yeah.
And Wednesday at 1 a.m. standstill traffic for an hour on the
Oh
101,
my
and you're just
God.
like, was there an accident? You're trying to like dial the AM radio to find out if there was an accident. No, there's just that many people traveling at Wednesday at 1 a.m. that there was
Oh,
standstill traffic. It was nuts.
party
I was
foul, dude.
I just thought I don't know anybody in LA who can give me a job. My friends are here, but nobody's working. Like they're baristas and yoga teachers. Like I can do that in New York.
Yeah.
And I just like the vibe of New York more. I moved here specifically. I mean, I had the New League showcase and everything, but I moved here because I was like, I really want to do theater. Like
Yeah.
I'm committed to trying to do stage plays and like have a career like that. And I did a little bit, but I've never been on Broadway or what have you. But
Soon.
then there, if I'm really interested, imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but my focus shifted after a while because I was just like, the amount of effort you put forth to get a job in this business, in a way, is the job. Like,
Yeah.
once you get the job,
That's the vacation.
yeah, man, that
Yeah.
is, you know what to do,
Yeah.
right? It's to get to that point. That's the real struggle and the like heartbreak and you were this close but you didn't get it,
I
all
know.
those things. That's
The pins, the callbacks, they mean nothing unless you get it.
yeah,
And
right.
that's
And
a
then
bummer.
then eventually you do. Eventually you get something.
And then what,
But you have to.
would you say Boardwalk Empire was your first big thing?
No, because that was like like another small co-star. It was in a big production with
But
a big.
you got 2 episodes, didn't you?
Yeah, I got 2 episodes out of it, but I
Yeah,
basically didn't say anything.
you got it.
It was a big casting director, so that made a big impression with a big network like HBO on a big
Yeah.
show that had been running for a long time. So in that respect, it's like a nice sort of like bullet point on the resume, but it wasn't anything to write home about. I
Right.
think the first sort of big thing where I like had a name, it wasn't like Uniform Cop Number One, was Unforgettable, which
Okay.
is a show that sort of bounced around. It was on CBS, and it was on AMC or something. I don't know. Poppy Montgomery, and then Dylan Walsh was on it for a while. I
Oh, I
had like
remember that.
a bunch of scenes with them, um, as like a bumbling sheriff guy. So I had an Officer Weaver, Officer something was my name. Like I had a name, I had a
Wow.
function and a name. I wasn't just like cop number one or like guy in a plaid shirt. I was like Officer Wheeler or something. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I've arrived. Like a real part, a guy, like I'm playing a man with a name. But I had a bunch of scenes that were pretty solid. So that was probably my first, I guess you'd call it like a guest.
Yeah.
I guess. So that seemed to open things up a lot for me.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
And then at what point did the mind changing show that everyone loves and we adore, Mindhunter, come your way?
Um.
I had Bernard on the show, and he
Oh
told it.
yeah.
Yeah, he told an interesting story that like something came your way and it wasn't quite a right fit, and you guys decided not to go with it, but that kind of inadvertently boomerang Mindhunter.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I was. That's true. I was up. That's true. Bernard, my manager. I was up for a part on a show called Outsider or Outsiders. It was on WGN or something, but it's shot in Pittsburgh, where Mindhunter was shooting. And I like got pinned for it, or I got like it was between me and somebody else. I don't think I got it. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Um, then Mindhunter came along like maybe within a week or two, and I just it was initially like a self tape. You submit a tape, and then it was like a whole crazy audition process, and I got it. And I remember this is the crazy part. I remember getting on the plane at LaGuardia to fly to Pittsburgh, where Mindhunter was shooting, and I recognized another actor in the like waiting area by the gate.
Oh, really?
And I was like, "What's up, Adam?" And he's like, "Hey, man, I'm going to Pittsburgh. I'm shooting a TV show." And I was like, "What TV show?" And it's like this little show called Outsiders. I was like, "Wait a second. Did you get the part XYZ?" This my buddy Adam got the part that I had auditioned for.
No way.
I got this other part. Mindhunter. We sat next to each other in the plane flying to Pittsburgh. It was kind of a crazy thing. But yeah, Mindhunter has changed everything.
Yeah.
So what
What
it took.
did you know? Because like at first they bring the guy in and you're not sure if he's staying, and then bam, you're series regular. Like, did you know that was gonna happen? Or
Yeah, I knew that because you sign the contract,
got it.
right away.
Yeah.
So like if it goes to the second season, you'll be bumped up and paid XYZ or whatever. And so I knew that I would be series regular if it went to the second season. And everyone was like, "Oh, of course it's going to go to a second season. It's Fincher, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah." But you never know.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
so I knew, but you also don't know if it'll come to pass that, you could get paid for those episodes but not appear. Like the contract language doesn't say you have to appear; it just says you have to get paid for them. So I've had friends.
You could get edited out,
Yeah, they get a bunch of money, but you're like, "Dude, where were you in the show?" And they're like, "Well, I got paid for it, but I'm not in it anymore." Oh wow, okay, I guess that can happen.
And how did it feel as Joe walking on that set after whatever amount of years, and finally like you're with Fincher, you're with Jonathan, you're with Anna, you're with the best, man. Like, what did that feel like? Was there a moment where you were like, I did it?
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, every day on set on that job was like that. No lie, no bullshit. Like,
yeah,
it was living the dream. Like, if I talk to like, Joe from fifth grade when he did his like first play in school, and I told him like, "Hey man, you're gonna be on a TV show with these people by David Fincher. fifth grade Joe would be like, yeah, I
Yeah.
know. That's perfect. That's what I want. So it was like
Yeah.
living
And you got
absolutely.
so many cool scenes, and in season two they really kind of let you, like, you're going to the prisons, working with all the cool act, like, man, you crushed
Yeah.
it. You were so good.
Thanks,
you
Ryan.
know yeah, I really loved it, man. And what was it like working with Fincher? Because I know he didn't direct every episode, but I know.
He didn't get. I mean, I don't know what he's like on other projects, but he's kind of amazing. He's also like an incredibly nice, generous, and gentle guy.
Yeah.
But what's amazing about Fincher is he can wear all the different hats. So like he's not just the sort of like chef directing people to do the job, but he doesn't really know what goes into the salad. Like he knows like where the lettuce came from because he
Wow.
like you know what I'm saying? Like he can do
Yeah.
everybody's job probably as good or maybe even better than they can do it. From like
Oh.
the DP to the gaffer to the lighting guy, I mean to the sound, the boom mic, like he's so precise in how he makes what he makes that because he knows everybody's job and sort of how it needs to be done. And so that's also actually, I found, builds a lot of confidence in the people that surround him, you know,
Yeah.
not just the actors, but all the people it takes to make something like this. Because when he says, cut, moving on, you know, it's like,
Yeah, we got
really
it.
good. Not just because he does, like, he literally does 40 to 100 takes for each setup. He's just so precise. His eye is so, like, laser focused that you've just, it feels like a safety net. I've been on other shows where you're like, you know, you're lucky if you get 3, 4 takes and it's like, oh yeah, we kind of got it. It's a little, you know, blurry or whatever, but we'll fix it in post. It's not like that at all with David. He's
Wow.
so precise. And then that's just principal photography. He's notorious for doing reshoots and stuff too. And so we did a lot of reshoots on all of it. You know, if it's not
Wow.
exactly right, he won't put it out there until it is,
Yeah.
which is also actually really comforting because half the time you're like, if you only get 2, 3 takes, you're like, did we get it? I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
3 takes, you're like, I know one of those is great. So
Yeah.
just do it.
And that must have been so cool in season two to, like, not be in the FBI office and being out there and interviewing people. Like, do you have
Yeah.
a blast, man? That must have been.
It was great. It was great. I
Yeah.
mean, Greg got to go on a couple field trips, which was fun. You know, it's it's always interesting because I get to interact a lot with like Holt and Jonathan and
Yeah.
Anna, sort of
Yeah.
the main
Your core
crew.
group of. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's great is when you bring in new blood, like the guest actors, especially on that show, because most of the time the guest actors are like the serial killers. So you really get to see some people do some crazy, awesome stuff.
Dude.
Um,
Cameron
and
Britton, what he did. Oh, so good.
yeah, he's brilliant. He's
Yeah.
brilliant.
That's amazing.
Um, and sort of what's so lovely about the cast on that show is how welcoming everybody is. I mean, I've definitely been on shows where I'm a guest or a co-star and no one even introduces themselves to me. We're in hair and makeup, literally sitting next to each other, and it's just like, whatever, I'm just some new person. I'm sure they get it every day. Like there's somebody new there every day they get to interact with. So, but it's not like that at Mindhunter. It was like there it really does feel like a team, like everybody's welcoming and family um and so nice to have that spirit because it does foster creativity. It fosters like interesting choices. People felt safe, and that's the guess. You know, you have the guess. Some of these
Yeah.
serial killer guys, some of these actors playing the serial killer, maybe they're only there for a couple days.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I still am in touch with some of these guys, so it's nice to that aspect of the job. I think was really special, and I think a little unusual. Honestly,
Yeah.
most sets I've been on, it's not quite as
Intimate or
yeah. The people aren't
yeah,
as friendly.
yeah.
Frankly, they're just. I mean, it's a job. This felt more um, cohesive.
Love that. So beautiful, man. And I don't know if you can answer, but I think everyone's kind of a little confused because they said it's not directly coming back, but it will come back. Like, is there any, or is it a
I
question
tell
mark?
you about that. Yeah, I can tell you that I don't know for sure. I think everybody would like to do it.
Yeah,
Um, that's what my understanding is, and it's about scheduling, like
yeah.
who is available when. I
Because
think
everyone went back to the market now, right? So
yeah,
now,
everybody's been released from their
yeah,
option, but that's I think because David got to do a project of his. It seems like he's been wanting to do it for a while.
yeah.
Um,
I had Tommy Pelfrey on, and he's in it.
oh, he's in what is Mankiewicz or something?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. And that was going to take up a lot of his time, and what I understand is Fincher didn't want to
Hand it
sort of
off.
he didn't want to hand
Yeah,
it off, hire a showrunner to do the rest of Mindhunter. He wanted to be in charge of it. I mean, that's kind of my impression of kind of how he works. Like he wants to do it. He wants to be there. Even in the episodes he wasn't directing, he was still there, sort of whispering in the director's ear, looking
well,
at the monitor. So, he wants to do it.
and I mean, more than the fans almost, Netflix wants it back. So here's the hoping, man, you
I
know?
hope so, man. Yeah, and it
Yeah,
sounds like, I mean, I talked to Holden Jonathan. They would like to do it again. I think it's all about the scheduling, man.
yeah.
It's just all about the scheduling.
Well, it's going to happen, man. And what's coming up for you, Joe? I mean,
Uh,
obviously we have Q-Teen right now, but,
yeah.
do you have any projects that are,
Right before we sort of went into quarantine, I did an episode of Blue Bloods that
oh,
aired
yeah,
a couple month or two ago. I don't remember, but it's been everything's closed up shop, so
yeah.
nothing on the horizon right now.
When for all the actors out there that are the Joe that just moved to New York and had those meeting with agents and now they don't want them, what would you say to them? Because it's such a long game and people so disillusioned, and there's so many
Sure.
actors that just when this hit, now they gotta survive till there's a vaccine, and
Oh
who
yeah.
knows when Broadway's gonna come back. And I'm sorry if that's a super loaded question, but like, what advice would you have, just in general for someone in that, that really raw beginning phase?
Sure. Um, Everybody has a different path, and you just don't know how it's going to go. I mean, when I moved to New York with a bunch of guys, and uh, two of them aren't even in the business anymore. And one of the guys who isn't is in the business anymore. Within 6 months of moving to New York, he had like a major studio movie and a series regular on a show. He ended up moving to LA. He's not even an actor anymore. And
Wow.
then, one guy's a professor, and somebody else is he's in LA, I think. So every life takes a lot of different paths, and like when you're 22, 23, getting out of college, or 25, whatever, getting out of your MFA program, um, you don't really know what life is like. You don't know what this career is really going to be like. And you don't get to make those decisions. It just sort of happens to you. So I think you have to like surf the wave. But if you really want it, it's a marathon, man. It's not. It's
Yeah.
at least. I mean, it's different for everybody, but for me, it's felt more like a marathon than a sprint. And just because you like booked some big thing, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything will change.
Totally.
I mean, I think part of what I've really appreciated that it's sort of taken me a little while is that I've had to, just like going to the gym, you don't start out, bench pressing 200 pounds. You have to
No.
build way up to it. Um, and so then you have all that sort of skill and like sort of, smaller muscular control to build up to that. So you kind of know what you're about when it's time to do the thing. Does that make sense?
100%.
So I guess the advice is like, if it's really right for you, you'll stick with it. I mean, before I wanted to be an actor, I was trying to, in high school, I was trying to do music. I was trying to do jazz piano. And I went and I saw this jazz piano workshop that the school took us to. And this jazz pianist, he talked to us afterwards and he was like, don't do this. Don't do music as a career unless it's the only thing that you can do. If there's literally anything else that you could do, you should do that, because this is that hard.
Yeah.
In a way that was like so discouraging, and I was like, screw that. I don't want to be a jazz pianist. But I would sort of give the same advice. I mean, maybe less harshly. Like if only do this if you absolutely have to do it, because it's that hard and that it can be that painful. Do it because it brings you so much joy.
Yeah. That
you can't do anything else. That it's like, I can't imagine not breathing or not being able to like drink a cold glass of water once in a while. Like you have to, you need the nourishment, so to speak. Like if if it really does nourish you, then do it. And like, if you don't become the guy with the name above the billboard and making millions of dollars a year, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like you can still do this and have a great life and enjoy what you do. I mean, there's plenty of people I know. Some of the best actors I've ever seen aren't in the business anymore. They might still be acting. They have a little community theater troupe or whatever, and they're still doing great work, but they just didn't want to deal with the business. And I have a lot of respect for that, because the sort of earning money part of this is crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You go from like not earning anything to like being a millionaire.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's not a lot in between.
No, there's not. And who knows when it comes, It could be 65.
And you could be millionaire one day and then like, never work again after that job ends.
Yeah.
So it's a crapshoot.
Well, Joe Tuttle, man, I got so much love for you. I loved what you did with Greg and Mindhunter. And
thanks.
Man, Broadway's coming for you, and so is season 3. I know it, dude. And
thanks,
we should grab coffee sometime in New York when this shit's over. And I got so much love for you, brother. Thank you for coming on. It means a lot to me.
My pleasure.
All right, Joe Tuttle, man. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
All right, much love.
That's good.
All right.